And welcome back to this special edition of Inside Indiana Business, coming to you from the Union 525 in downtown Indianapolis on our Indy Tech Town Hall, brought to you by Comcast Business. Well, for the next 30 minutes, we'll be hearing from thought leaders and tech leaders from throughout the state, talking about tech momentum, in particular here in central Indiana, challenges and opportunities in the Indianapolis region as well when it comes to tech growth. We'll also check the pulse of the community with a studio audience of entrepreneurs, innovators, students, and community leaders. And it's my pleasure to welcome to the show Hyde Park Venture Partners partner, Tim Kopp. Also, Launch Fishers and Launch Indy founder John Wexler, Cluster Truck co-founder and CEO Chris Baggett, and Speakeasy executive director Danielle McDowell. Wanted to start with tech momentum. And we hear a lot about it, we see a lot about it, whether it's Launch Fishers or this facility here, Salesforce, all the announcements we're getting. Tim, I'll start with you. We were talking off camera about one of the big differences and why this momentum seems to be real. And you talked about when you moved to Indianapolis and how different it was then compared to now.
Yeah, it is different. And, you know, I think talent is such a critical part of a tech ecosystem. And the truth is, when I moved to ExactTarget and kind of succeeded Chris, the hope was that ExactTarget would work out. But the truth is, if it didn't, there was really nowhere else to go within Indianapolis. So you had to think about, you know, do I want to uproot and move my whole family here? And I think the great thing about momentum is momentum begets momentum. And a lot of this is kind of like compound interest and the way it continues to grow. And the truth is, Hyde Park it was based in Chicago. Our entire first fund was in Chicago. We put down roots for our second fund, opened up an office in Indianapolis, and we think, you know, the way my partners put it is, pound for pound, it's the strongest B2B software tech marketing market in the country.
Wow.
So, you know, while I think there's a lot more to be done, a lot has been done. Yeah,
it's quite a statement. Chris, co-founder of ExactTarget. Tim was your chief marketing officer there for a while. But talk about the space, and we had Scott Dorsey on the show earlier talking about it, but how that has, the market has evolved since ExactTarget was founded back in 2000.
Sure. You know, I think, you know, to Tim's point, the success breeds success. You know, if you think about a period of time where we had Interactive Intelligence, Primo, Angie's List, ExactTarget, you know, some really, really big exits that threw a lot of talent out into the marketplace, a lot of money into the marketplace, people who lived here because they chose to live here and reinvest. I think that's really helped. And it's not just marketing tech, you know. Cluster Truck arguably is a technology company, you know, 120 Water Audit, you know, just you see a lot of these other kinds of software companies perking up, solving big problems with software that aren't really marketing tech as well.
Yeah. Danielle, your perspective, we'll talk about the Speakeasy. Give us the thumbnail view of the Speakeasy.
Sure, so we are a not-for-profit, and our goal is to remove barriers to entry for entrepreneurs. We have a mission to create healthy entrepreneurial ecosystems, and we do that by bringing together a hungry community, resources and activities for learning, and then finally funding, which makes it all go.
Yeah, and we were talking off camera, one of your new ventures is a creative, an arts initiative.
Yes, so we really believe that the combination between a knowledgeable business community and tech community alongside creatives who think abstractly and out the box will allow for us to percolate ideas and move these businesses forward faster in a way that is unprecedented. And so we're really trying to invest in the creative community.
John, you, serial entrepreneur, started several companies. Launch Fishers, just to the northeast, was your brainchild, and you're going to put some space in this space, the Union 525 as well. Talk about the ecosystem of these co-working spaces and places like the Speakeasy that now are not only all over Indianapolis, but all over Indiana.
Well, I think it's indicative, Gary, of the momentum that was discussed earlier, and that is you have enough success in the community now that we're spawning other companies out of that technology family tree, right? It's kind of like the band that seems to be an overnight success. Well, they played the same corner for 14 years, right? Worked really hard at their craft, and now our time is coming, right? And so we're seeing the success. I think places like the Speakeasy, like Launch Fishers, like Launch Indy are delivery mechanisms for programming, for outreach, for community building, for creative pursuits. And that's the next logical step for our startup and entrepreneurial community, I think.
As we continue our conversation, what was the tipping point? Was there one or two things? Was it more direct flight, more nonstop flights, daylight saving time? I mean, people laugh about that, but A lot of people think that was a key to some of this tech momentum.
Well, I think I would go back to your business partner in Grow Indiana Media Ventures and Scott Jones personally committing of his time, money, and energy to make some of those earliest initiatives happen. And daylight saving time, direct flights, access to investment capital, all those things are prerequisites to this innovation economy that we're really seeing thrive right now in central Indiana and throughout the state.
You know, from my standpoint, you know, I lived here. I married into Indiana, as Scott did as well. You know, it's a great business environment. It's a great culture. I can remember Mitch early on, Mitch Daniels coming in like, I don't understand what you boys are doing and I want to help. If staying out of your way is helping, you know, the fact that you can form an LLC in 10 minutes online, we take that for granted, but I tried to help a friend set up a coffee business in Pennsylvania, and it was 6 weeks of letters going back and forth. You know, the venture fund, I think, the VCI, was huge for us at ExactTarget, and still is huge for startups in this community.
I want to engage our audience here at the Union 525, and we have a question. If you could just tell us your name and who you're with.
Sure. I'm Allie Cudby with Your Iconic Brand, and we hear over and over again about the importance of culture for a measure of success in business. I'd love to hear what you think is the culture that defines the Indianapolis business community, and maybe how that's differentiated from some of the other big tech sectors around the country.
Who wants to take that?
Yeah, you know, I'd be happy to. Like Chris, I'm not from Indianapolis, so I can't be accused of being a homer here, but a big part of my job is to travel the country and look for all the most kind of promising startups across the Midwest. So I spent a lot of time in Chicago, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Ann Arbor. Indianapolis is really unique. I think there's a few things that are happening. I think what really defines Indianapolis most particularly is the people, and that is a bit kind of overstated, but the willingness for everybody to help and come alongside one another, and not, you know, when you have an exit here, it's not the end, it's kind of right back to the beginning, and people tend to grab an oar and get kind of right back into it. So I think it's the cohesiveness of everybody working together here is something that's really different, and it's been kind of the concentration of talent that we've had for a fairly long period now.
Very good. Take one more in this segment.
Hi, Kelly Schwedlin, currently serve with Elevate Ventures. And just, you know, as we talk about the city of Indianapolis and the surrounding area, central Indiana, and just the growth that it's seen and the momentum that's happening here, talk a little bit about what that looks like statewide, and how do we move this beyond just central Indiana and into some of the other surrounding regions.
That one, John?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question, Kelly. The statewide economy is, I mean, when you hear talk of talent, right, about half of the state's talent base is outside of the central Indiana marketplace. So we need to look at our communities far and wide, from Evansville to Fort Wayne to small communities like Huntingburg, the college towns of Bloomington and Lafayette.
And I think a big thing that's kind of caused some of this democratization is the cloud in and of itself. You can actually spin up a business from anywhere. And if you're a domain expert, you can be up and running with whatever instance of software you want very quickly. And so now what we're finding is people from industry and who are building great tech, people who are not previously from tech, but know a domain or a vertical very well. So I think that's why we're seeing a lot of these sort of pop-up geographies around Indianapolis do real well.
Well, thanks for watching Inside Indiana Business on YouTube. For the latest statewide business news, be sure to visit InsideIndianaBusiness.com and subscribe to our free daily e-newsletters by clicking on the link.